organization. And our fundamental purpose is to bring the message of freedom of speech to the public sector, to go out into courthouse squares and bring various topics and to what we call practice our right to the freedom of speech. And so far we've held some meetings at the Greensburg courthouse. We went down to Pittsburgh, and then we went to Harrisburg, right there in the rotunda, and we discussed various topics concerning our fundamental rights as Americans, and as we can see that we are in danger of losing those rights. And so, once again, I'm here representing Restoring the Faith. I want to talk to you for a few minutes on the subject of protecting your freedom by practicing your freedom. Protecting your freedom by practicing your freedom. Everyone here should be familiar with the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. The Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. And we'll stop right there for a reason. When you look at these clauses in the First Amendment, which many believe that the statesman Fisher Ames had a lot to do with that drafting, it is not by accident that it has this kind of progression to it. The walls of separation of church and state are not necessarily built there so that people would be at a place where they are today to practice their faith or to speak religious things in public sectors. They were there and put there, as you well know, so that the government would not control religion. And that's what they mean by establishing religion. But it's interesting that religion is mentioned as the first thing on the list in that clause. And we focus so much on the separation of church and state that we miss a fundamental point. Why is religion mentioned as the first thing in the clause? Religion is mentioned at that time in history because religion was so big, and religion was so fundamental, and religion was so foundational as a part of everything that was going on in this country, from our schoolhouse to the courthouse to eventually the White House. Religion was a great part of it. It's not like today. It's nothing like today, where people are afraid to say certain things. And as we'll see, it's not getting any better. It's getting worse. I believe what's happening right now, this Tea Party movement, this cry about taxation without representation, it's not even, and I'm not being smart when I say this, it's not even being applied right. The Tea Party, the Boston Tea Party in 1773, that's not where that phrase came from. It came from the Stamp Act of 1765. And the context to me is a distraction from what we really should be paying attention to. We're distracted by materialism in our culture. And our problem is not our pocket. Our problem is our principles. If we fatten up everybody's pocket and fill everybody's bank accounts and put everybody in the seats of amenities and have everyone living in the laps of luxury, but if we have no power as people, then we have nothing. We are poor if we are a people who have prosperity without freedom. I'll say it again. You are poor if you are a people that has prosperity without freedom. And our most fundamental freedom this right that we have in the First Amendment of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances can never be achieved if that very government, the so-called, drafted this right for us, sneakily and deceptively and underminingly steals it from us by having us distracted with materialism. We should be more concerned about our freedom to talk than the weight of taxation on our pockets. Once a government deceives a people into thinking they have something called constructed-based speech, an idea that comes out of Orwellian philosophy. Once a government tells us that this is right to say and that's wrong to say, and people start believing it, and we have a problem. Everybody heard what happened to the CNN reporter Sanchez, how he was fired for simply saying that a gentleman was a bigot. I don't know about you, but sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Whatever happened to that? Wasn't that something? Didn't we have some kind of intestinal fortitude as Americans when we taught our kids that if somebody says something bad about you, don't let it bother you, as long as they don't physically try to hurt you? We have descended to such a low place in our culture that now journalists and reporters are walking in fear of their employment for simply making a wisecrack. But it doesn't end there. The place where the freedom of speech is being abridged, which I'm most concerned with, is in our universities. Because out of our universities comes the formation of the new culture. If our universities are full of imbalance, our government will be full of imbalance. Our churches will be full of imbalance. Our schools will be, our families will be full of imbalance. And right now, that's what's happening. On April 19th, 2010, a recent case that was settled on June 28, 2010, the CLS, the Christian Legal Society at a University of California, the Hastings Law School division of that university. There was a petition filed by that group, the CLS, against the RSO. And what it was about was for anyone to join this particular group, the registered student group, they had to follow that group's particular bylaws. And part of their bylaws was that no one could discriminate against people for religion or sexual orientation. Now, the Christian Legal Society, being a Christian society, they joined another group and became a part of their Christian group, which had some bylaws in what they called a statement of faith. And I'm sure you're familiar with the statement of faith. And part of their statement of faith was that no one could participate in homosexual activity, what they called unrepented homosexual activity. That was a part of their statement of faith. When this group found out that they belonged to this other group, they did not accept them into their student society. So they took them to court, and the court ruled in favor of the student society, the registered student society, saying that their policies were okay. It was all right for them to discriminate against this Christian group because it didn't fit into their particular beliefs. When you think about something like that, it's